too much.
So whisper only.
All right, at 6 o'clock, we'll call this Rockridge School Board meeting to order. Everything about this meeting can be found on rockridgepublicschools.org and about tonight's meeting at the entry into this building. I would ask everybody to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record reflect that we will have a full board shortly, which is running a few minutes late. At this time, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Lotiger. Any discussion? Do you want to add, remove, or add anything at this time?
I'd like to add a report on the due bid sale.
Okay.
And
And where would you like that?
it doesn't matter.
Well, we need a place for it, Chloe.
Under superintendent's report.
Okay.
And then
Under superintendent, so 7.4,
I think we have one.
7.3, 7.4.
That's what it would be.
Okay.
Okay, and I see we have one principal here, but I was interested in a report on our new cell phone usage policy, how it's going. Maybe just something real quick from Angie, because I don't see any others here today.
Well, Angie's elementary.
Yeah.
She's elementary, so I don't think we can,
Okay, we'll wait for the
right?
other ones another time. And I had a couple other things, but I'll talk with you and Noel separately about those maybe for a future time, Bill.
Okay,
About committee materials and meetings and minutes, and then a budget meeting of the whole.
okay. All right, so with 7.4 added on a discussion of how the due bid sale goes,
I'll change my motion to include that, that's fine.
okay?
I'm fine with that too.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Recognition of visitor input, I did not have any speakers signed up. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak? With that being said, we'll move on. Item 4. Item 4, quarterly presentation with Pete Alvin and Kraus Anderson.
Good evening. It has been another quarter, believe it or not, since the last time we were here. Give you an update on all the projects that we're doing currently for the Rockridge District. And then we will also, after we're done with the quarterly report, we will also submit for your approval the Gilbert bids for the Gilbert demolition project. So we'll follow the same sequence that we've done in the past: schedule, safety, quality, and budget. And then we have an amendment presentation at the end there for amendment number 10, which just brings us up to date on some of the decisions you've had in the past, just to get the accounting back up to date on that. So schedule, we're getting near the end of that line, way down there in the end. We are into some miscellaneous demo projects. Gilbert demolition is not on this timeline yet because you haven't approved it. But if you do, that would start almost immediately. We'd get into that just as soon as we possibly can. But as you know, we have 2 projects down. We're on the North Star project. That's going along very well, and Pete's going to give you a quick update on that progress. We have a monthly, 11-month warranty inspection, and that is for the Rockridge High School. So we've been doing, as you can see on here, 11 months we did a warranty inspection for the site work, and then we did one on the outside building envelope. So this will be on the interior of the building, just so if you have any issues, we get with your facilities people and we can catch that while it's still under warranty and get that completed under the warranty instead of having to have an additional cost to you. So that is in December. Safety, had a really good safety record. North Star is kind of a complicated project over there in the downtown, especially with the demolition combined with it. So we've had a lot of emphasis on it. We just recently, on October 18th, we had an OSHA consultation inspection where we bring OSHA in and they give us advice on things we could do better. Went really well. We didn't have any major items on that at all. Just a great team out there on the site and a good bunch of contractors, so that went really well. So we'll get into quality, and Keith is going to get into the nuts and bolts of the North Star project.
We'll start with demo first, with a little demo photo update. These photos are already out of date. If you've driven by there, the site is in a different state now. The building's completely down and in a pile of rubble getting hauled out. So this is an aerial taken by Bill Bryson, the IT for the district. This was before we started the VHS demo, so just the Malone and Annex were down at that time, but that's the most current aerial photo. Here, most of the VHS is down now, and just a little bit was standing here. This is now down on the ground, like I said, and getting hauled out, so happens fast. This is 3rd Street. You can now see 3rd Street again, for anyone who saw that there before. This is just looking from the north, back towards the south. That last part of the structure standing. This was the Malone area here, and the annex over to your left. So this is from the 3rd floor and the North Star. So to get an idea, if you can imagine what the new site is going to look like down here with the North Star, that was the intent of the picture. Not to necessarily see the ugly demo, right? But to picture the new cool landscaping that'll be all in the area. Any questions on demo right now? Get into the North Star stuff. So some rendering comparisons. The exterior front of the building. Most of the brick is complete. We just got that little bit left here on the 2nd floor. Now that we got our patio poured, we'll be able to finish that brick and a couple of the windows as well. If you drive by, we're going to be starting to put this thermally modified wood siding on. This is all prepped and ready for that. And then within the next couple of weeks, we'll be working on this main window too. So it'll still really start to come together, looking like the rendering here. Just a little bit older photo. When I was over there to take photos, there was a bunch of equipment in the way, so I didn't want to take that. But that's basically that nice decorative brick wall at the main entrance. Just get an idea. So up on level 2, the informal learning area. You can see standing here in the building, looking back this way. Got some color on the wall. 3rd floor and 2nd floor are all painted out now. Working on ceilings, casework, that kind of stuff. This is the media center. So with the blacked out ceiling and the lights hanging down, then there'll be clouds, ceiling clouds in between the lights. Kind of similar to what you have in the high school on the north side of the building on level 1 there. So coming in the main entrance, you can start to see that come together now. You got your soffit in, this area right here. Again, all your clouds that will be dropping down after we get it painted. Wherever you see all this wood is going to be all of that wood paneling around here in the soffit. So it's coming together. Obviously, level 1 is used for storage right now. That's why all the stuff's in the way. And this is looking back at the main entrance of the main commons. So finish this down there, it'll get cleaned up a little bit, be able to see that a little better. So coming outside, you can see it was a tight fit to get the picture in here before with the building here on the left and right, but now able to step over, get a better view of that angle of the building. So again, the south end, all the metal panels up now in the link area and the loading dock. All the bricks complete. Metal panel, we're just waiting on some metal panel material and then that'll start to go up.
Pete, can you talk a little bit about the concrete work gonna be done in that area now that the building's done?
So, we have our concrete contractor on site this week. We're working on that transformer retaining wall first, right here, which is over here off the screen. And then there's 4 large retaining walls that you'll see go in off the south end of this building. So that'll tie that all in and then you'll have your sloped hill up to the building there.
None of that could go in before because the other building, VHS, was so close before Malone.
So now we've created some space and get those in before winter and good to go. Just another photo of the cool European looking building. Everybody likes that one. Over on the northwest corner of the building, got the metal panel up on the penthouse and the link. This glass window's now in too at the main stair. That's a neat looking one. Patio, so this is down the slope. You got your steps coming down, the turf with the turf mounds. And then we'll be pouring our brick ledge here and getting the brick finished up. And then this is just turning around and looking at the patio space. It's a lot bigger than I imagined. It's a nice space up there. So just progress on the inside, looking at some tile in the bathroom up on the 3rd floor. They're working their way down to 2nd, then 1st. So that's moving right along. It's looking good. And outside, I thought that was pretty cool. That's a thermally modified wood siding. I like the contrast in colors, and that's what's going to be on the front of the building too. So, any questions about North Star before we go into budget?
You just mentioned the 3rd Street, how that utility is getting replaced, right?
Oh,
I have a question. Being in the contract business, we have a lot to do with.
Hey, I don't believe that.
There's no questions from the audience.
Yeah.
He's asking for the school board.
You.
Are we any closer to taking a tour in there?
yeah, I don't see why not. Would you want to do it on a board meeting night?
Preferably.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do it at a 5 o'clock start?
Takes a little time to get back here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4:30 would probably be.
4:30 would be good.
At the site, 4:30?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that makes,
4:30.
I was thinking that too, Brandon. Thanks for asking.
Let's look at the calendar quick.
while he's checking the calendar, I just wanted
November
to
6th.
point out one of the things that we're gonna do is sanitary.
Yeah, sanitary.
Gonna be redoing, gonna be doing a sanitary sewer line that goes through that street. That used to be underneath the Malone Annex area, and when we analyzed that with the city, they found that that needs to be replaced, so better to proactively do that with them than any other time. So when you drive by, you'll see the building getting demoed on one side, we'll be digging up that whole street, and then we'll be putting concrete in, and I just, as you get asked those questions, we wanna make sure you understood what's going on there. Trying to get all that done before winter, obviously.
So that sewer line is not, that's the city's responsibility, correct?
Yes, so the city will be reimbursing the district, yes.
Okay.
We got that all worked out. With that sanitary line, we're also doing all the remainder of the storm utilities down here too. So as Pat mentioned, that southern part of the site is all gonna get tore up with piping and structures and everything put in. Get that all in before winter, grade it out and ready to go for the springtime and summertime work. So,
Do you have an idea of how much that new sewer line is going to cost approximately, ballpark?
85,000.
I have one question, sir.
Yeah.
I don't even want to ask it, but I see the steam lines in front of the new school, and we're not utilizing steam. Is the city going to do anything to rectify?
That I do not know. That would
Okay.
be a question for the city. I know we're not doing anything with it as part of this project.
Right. Okay,
But, yeah,
So the steam line's on the school property?
yeah.
the easement from the street.
Oh, okay, right.
And I believe they had to complete that loop for other customers. It's not for you, but they had to complete that loop.
Yeah.
We have asked, and we believe the city of Virginia has told us we're not able to do that because it serves other customers.
But
We
we're.
would have preferred that it not be there, but it's there.
But my problem is, and we can discuss it with the city of Virginia, is the steam leak that's on our property. Even if they do have permission to be there.
If there's a problem, they'll have to bust it up, yep.
Thank you.
Did you have a date then?
Yeah, November 6th at 4:30 at the site.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, hold on, board members, do you want to have this meeting before your regular board meeting or a completely separate Monday? Because your next one,
Regular board meeting.
Meeting.
so that would be, Pete, that would actually be November
6th,
13th.
Oh,
You meet on the
second.
Okay. That should still work.
We'll have snow by then.
no, you won't. Out to thinking.
That'll still be in charge.
No, that's it.
It works even better for me, so thank you.
So
Catch.
November, we'll set it up November 13th at 4:30. We'll call the work study session at North Star, the site.
Right.
All right, we'll be ready for you. We will have to wear PPE, so make sure you got closed-toed shoes. Should be pretty cold by then, so it shouldn't be a problem. But then we'll provide all the hard hats and safety glasses and vests and all that. If you have some from previous tours, go ahead and bring them to. All right.
Okay.
All right, budget. So overall budget has gone up this time with the add of the phase 2 mechanical upgrade that's taking place in this building, which was previously approved. Now we're just catching up on the referendum with the amendment. So the new total is 203 million and 87% spent to date. So North Star specifically, this, I can't remember if this was on the last one or not, but I've updated the amount of months that this project is taking due to the summer work. About three months in the summer. So it used to be 17, now it's 20. So we're 65% complete, 13 done, 7 months to go. So we'll start back up in May and go through August and be done before the school year with all the site work. Contingency, that's just rolling along. 300,000 spent, 1 million remaining there, so that's in really good shape for being 65% complete. And expenditures, this is just how much has been spent to date overall at North Star, doing some catch up with some transitioning and stuff, getting pay apps out and paid and everything, so we're all caught up now, and this number will start to close in together.
Can you go back one? I missed it, that one.
Yep.
So on top there, it says phase 2. Do we not have phase 1 for Spectrum building?
Yeah, phase 1 was other different funds from the district were used to pay for that, so it's not a part of the referendum per se.
What funds were those?
That, I'm not sure, that would be
LTFM dollars.
I think so, but I don't know for sure.
Do you remember how much that was? I'm just trying to keep track.
It was at a point to
Well, I thought it was about $1 million.
800,000.
And then it looks like, of course, we were under budget for the Laurentian. We're a little bit over budget for the high school by about 200-some thousand. We're really over budget by almost $14 million for the North Star. That's about a 50% increase in what we budgeted. What were all the major things that happened there?
Well, we'd have to go back to all the other board meetings,
Yeah.
but you remember that we had the inflation right after COVID, and then we've added scope to the project since then in increments, and you've approved each of those, so We can go back through all that.
Maybe I'll talk to you separately. I'll talk to you separately.
Sure.
And then about the scope. It's hard to keep all of these different pieces in line.
Right. Just to refresh your memory, we got the bids in, we had good competitive bids, but they were much higher because we had like 30% inflation during that time period. That's when we decided to take those dollars from the demo budget so that we could keep that project on track. And then we've since reimbursed the demo project from additional funding that you got from other sources. That's kind of the quick summary of where all that went.
Okay.
Good. All right, so the demo specific, as you see it, 99% complete on the schedule. Now, if the Gilbert demo gets approved tonight, that number is gonna change and go down, because now we're adding more demo scope, so obviously we didn't start there yet. So you guys don't get caught off guard next time. So this is through the VHS demo, so only the hollow remains at 5%. And that brings us to a total of 515,000 square feet of building demolished to date. So that's a pretty astronomical number, I think. All the contingency was spent over there between all of the demo projects from start to finish. And total current budget is $5.9 million for the demo through the Malone Annex and VHS. So again, this number will catch up to the schedule once they final bill and everything for the abatement and demo of the Virginia campus. So as I mentioned, if the Gilbert demo is approved tonight, that'll increase the total budget. So I'm giving you a little sneak preview to Morgan's presentation. So the Gilbert demo was just under the 2 million, so you'd be up to 7.9 million for overall demo costs, if you guys approve that.
And we budgeted 7.5, 7.5?
7.5, but with a different scope. Yeah.
7.5.
So changes to date, we took each demo project and gave you the total amount of changes throughout each one of those. A lot of credits, and then over at the Virginia campus, we did have some additional costs, mostly due to the unable to do the destructive investigation, so actually going and poking holes in the walls and the ceiling and the floor and all that to find all that asbestos that's hiding behind walls and overspray from fireproofing and all that kind of stuff. So that's where all those came from. Luckily now in Gilbert, because the building is unoccupied, we're able to go in there and do destructive testing. So I think that really is going to save us from having any change orders over there. So,
Pete, is this just demo or is this abatement and demo?
this is abatement and demo.
demo.
Yep.
And just keep in mind, in past years, you make the choice to either abate hazardous materials or you can encapsulate them. That's where we get in trouble years later, because it's like, oh, I didn't know that you had those 3 layers of tile underneath those 4 layers of flooring, where you encapsulated it, which made it and made it a safer environment to work in. But if you don't find it, we have to take that out before we can demolish the building. So that's where that destructive demolition ahead of time is so important.
So I know that there was even before we were consolidated, there was a study done about all the hazardous material and asbestos. That was a big report. I think I even have a copy at home. But so how accurate and how much more above and beyond that? I mean, if it was only surface and maybe drilling some holes. So did you find a lot more than that report could have even found?
I would say we found more in certain areas and different types of materials that maybe wasn't on the report to begin with.
Okay.
But again, the buildings were occupied, so we couldn't do a lot of destructive testing. Yes.
I understand that the Virginia schools had more asbestos because they had certain tiles, certain colors had more asbestos than other colors, and, you know, blues or whites or tans or something. And I understood that there was more of that over on the Virginia side. But we knew that up front from that first study, right?
I think the only thing was the terrazzo floor. they're rarely have asbestos in it, but for some reason, the Virginia High School or the Roosevelt, one of them had asbestos in it. That we knew about that last fall.
Yeah, that was in the VHS building, yep.
Yeah.
And now there is some of that in Gilbert as well, but we were able to find it now and it's included in the bid. And so.
Maybe talk real quick about the vermiculite. That's a good example.
Oh, yeah, that is a
Hey,
good one.
Pete, before you talk about the vermiculite, members of the board, keep in mind that those older reports were done for a completely different purpose. The purpose of these reports and what they're finding is demo. The other reports is for finding it and encapsulating it. Their goal never was to find every inch of asbestos, go under the boards, punch through walls, see what was on the beams. So it's not surprising that this report is going to find more, because the purpose of the two reports, they're not the same thing.
So another example that Patrick mentioned was the vermiculite we found in the annex building. So that was used as an insulation material inside the CMU block. And without doing the destructive testing, we weren't able to know that was there until we actually started knocking into those CMU walls and it comes pouring out. Well, now that has to get hauled to a different landfill and they couldn't recycle the CMU at a crushing facility or something like that. So that's a good one. Thanks for reminding me.
So the way we found that is there's like a steel column that's encapsulated like this one, it was like with brick, and it was up against the exterior wall. So we knew you could look up above the ceiling and see fireproofing up there, and that was tested, had asbestos in it. So we knew we had to take this off from around the column, then abate that material and take it out. But this was adjacent to like that exterior wall. So when we dug into that, all of a sudden all this vermiculite came pouring out of the wall. And we're like, okay, it's not just the fireproofing on that steel, it's the exterior wall and it's all the exterior walls. So that was an example. That destructive testing and investigation is critical when you can do it. You can't do it when you were doing school still, so.
All right. Going to the actual amendment itself, I'm sure you guys have reviewed this already. But just looking at where the original referendum started, down to amendment number 11. So it's up to 203 for the total referendum. So it's a $2.35 million change from the last time. And then on our contract specifically, we're asking tonight for the approval of the 186. That covers additional general conditions, site services, reimbursables, and fee to go along with that phase 2 mechanical job, and then the added funds to North Star as well over the last quarter.
I have a question. So reimbursable expenses, is that like, is fencing in that category?
No, you actually have a contract with a fencing contractor.
Okay, so that's not in site services. This is all just for you, for Cross Emerson?
Technically, it's the district's money that we use to complete a project, the general conditions and reimbursables. Whatever doesn't get spent, then it gets sent back to the district.
I know, you note that on all three of these. I just, it might be informational, maybe not now, but to put an explanation of what is under the category general conditions, site services, and reimbursables. And the only reason I ask about the fencing is because once the project started, even the first building was the Evelyn Junior High. Can't we just reuse that fencing? Are we buying new fencing each time?
Now, it's a fencing contractor that they have a stockpile at their warehouse of fencing. And so then they bring that out to the specific job, whatever lineal footage is needed for that, or however many gates or man doors or anything are needed, so.
You're leasing that fencing, you're not buying it.
Yeah.
No, I know that, but KA doesn't have fencing that they use of your own?
Either way, you'd be leasing it from us. And it'd be, actually, it's more efficient to have the contractor that's installing it to have it.
Okay, I wondered more than once about that, about using the fencing over. If that could be
Sometimes
they reuse it everywhere.
Of course they do, yeah. But we keep
Sometimes
it
you'll see fencing as a part of general conditions, but because there's so much fencing, we bid it each time, so you have a good competitive price each time.
Okay. That's the question I had there.
And I'm not gonna go through this line by line, this is just a breakdown of, the added funds to each project, obviously nothing on the high school or Laurentian, those are complete projects. And then the biggest difference is that, phase 2 mechanical upgrade is the big change. And again, that was approved at the last board meeting, and now we're just, reallocating those funds, so, for that project. There's no other questions, I'd ask for approval.
Okay, so with Carl Sanderson's quarterly report on the North Star Elementary and the demo quarterly report from Pete Avedon, 4.1, can I get a motion to approve 4.1?
Make that motion.
Motion by Director Yuan. Support. Support by Director Burden. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thanks. Item 5, Gilbert abatement and demo bid results presentation.
Alrighty. It's been a while since you guys have heard from me. If you don't remember, I'm Morgan.
Welcome
I've been
back.
here
Yeah,
for
welcome.
Sanderson.
We'd rather hear from you anyway.
And it was a baby girl, right?
Baby girl, yeah, I went on a little bit of a hiatus this summer and had a baby, so I'm back now.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
They let me come back.
That was in the schedule, by the way, baby, just
Yeah.
time and then you're back.
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah, Pete took over the demolition abatement and kept it going well while I was away, and now I get to jump right back into it, so.
Well, that's a good point to bring up. So Pete is finishing the VHS demo, because it's right adjacent to North Star. And then he'll complete that piece, and then all the demo goes back to Morgan again, so.
Yeah.
She loves that work.
Sorry, I'm not sure why I disconnected.
Yeah, so probably kind of go along with the fence conversation. This is one of the jobs that we do have a temporary fence contractor. Keller Fence, you'll see in a minute here, was the low bidder. And they actually will come to the site and set up the fence pretty much immediately after we get approval. If we get approval tonight, they'll come to the site, bring their own fence. They actually ordered more fence for this project. They'll set it up for us and then have it through the duration of the project. So,
Really helps to get that
Phases.
fence up right away, each of the projects, because people see vacant buildings, they want to start going into them and doing bad things, so.
How about the bid irregularity did not attend mandatory pre-bid meeting? They must have come after it and talked with you about it.
Yep, they did, and we went over everything on the phone with them as well. And we had our site superintendent who would be on this project meet with them, so they understood the scope.
And the other ones too, that's why Naval Systems got the other one. But it was the lowest bidder too.
Yep.
Okay.
You just scroll on those.
It's giving me like an error on here.
I like the second slide.
Not supposed to see it yet.
In fact, I can, guess I can pull up the PDF. If there's something wrong with PowerPoint.
Oh, that's fine. Whatever this is for me.
For the sake of time, we'll start talking.
You guys have this, right?
We have it.
Okay. So I am here because we have been going through the bidding process for the Gilbert School, the remainder of the campus. As you know, last year we did demo and abate the old science wing. So now we're here for the remainder of that campus and actually some added outdoor specialty items as well. We began the bidding process about a month ago. During that, we've had pre-construction meetings, correspondence with the contractors, and then we actually had the bid opening on October 10th. And in between then and today, I've been bid tabbing the contractors to make sure everything is covered and that our prices are pretty solid here. So that's what I've been doing for the past month.
He's got one, and I've got one there.
You guys saw a sneak preview of the great slide that we have here. We wanted to go with the bottom line up front. We're actually under budget by $210,000. Under budget are two great words that it's hard to come by nowadays, as you know. So really great news story. Part of the reason, there you go. Part of the reason that I believe we are under budget on this is the time of year. It's one thing. Really competitive pricing came in. Contractors, I think, are looking for work right now, and this just happened to be at the right time. So timing was a really big factor in this. A little bit of a site overview so you know what we are doing over at the Gilbert campus. This is what I consider the outdoor specialties area. We've got the two pairs of the tennis courts. There is some goal posts for the football side of things, baseball backstop. Essentially, that's the scope in this space. We put this first for the demolition contractor to remove this year if they would like, just to be able to help them out and get some work done in the fall. The
Additional scope that we didn't have last time.
Yeah, so this is scope that was not included last time when we bid this project out. And the demolition contractor is also responsible to remediate any of the soils that are disturbed. And then once we get to the building, as you see, this part of the building was previously removed. That was the old science wing. And then you have the remainder of the campus. We'll be taking down the whole remainder of the campus. The playground and the associated sod and landscaping with that is staying. So that will be staying there. You can see the haul route that we have began to kind of formulate for the contractors. We again will have the site fencing all the way around the site for safety and security purposes. Oh, yep, the bus garage remains right here. We will have our Crossing Anderson trailer right by the bus garage because we will have a full-time superintendent on site. Do you have any questions on the scope?
So you're looking at demoing like the tennis courts in Gilbert and that first, is that what you were saying?
It is an option for the demolition contractor to start that work immediately.
Because
if
they
would
can't
like
do the
to.
building demo until the abatement's done, so we thought if they wanted to slide that in first and go right into the building, they could. It all depends on their schedules, right?
Yeah, we wanted to make it available for them because it would be efficient for them to do it that way if they chose.
And the city of Gilbert doesn't have any interest in the tennis courts or?
No.
They're in really
That-
really bad shape.
Okay.
I drove by them last week, they got trees and stuff and shrubs and it would take, it'd probably.
Cracks, yeah.
Yeah.
They would
Probably take more to,
complete redo.
yeah, they're in tough shape.
Okay.
I think they were more concerned that we were gonna leave them, from what I understood.
Yes, and on that note, board members, just, you know, the city of Gilbert, they also got the playground equipment there. They have asked us to leave it there for now until, so this demolition, if you say yes, will be occurring, but the playground stuff will stay there. That's because the city of Gilbert has asked us to do that. And we're trying to work with the cities.
All right, so milestone schedule. As I said, we've been working on this bidding process for about a month now. We had a pre-bid meeting and walkthrough on the 28th of September. The bids were due on the 10th of October, and now we are here today for school board approval. If we do get approval tonight, we plan on starting abatement of hazardous materials next week on Monday. That will be 12 weeks worth of work. After that, we will jump right into demolition, and that will be another 12 weeks worth of work. Now we'll get into the bids that we received. I'll show you the first three contractors here, so the lowest three bids. For the demolition scope, it was Light Company. Their bid was $778,000. Next was Landwehr with $987,000, and then Rachel Contracting was $1,188,000. Next is hazardous material abatement. Mavo Systems was the lowest apparent bidder. Next was Abatech, and then we had BCI Environmental. As you can see here, some really close bidding, which was really great to see. I will note there was a couple bid irregularities here. Mavo Systems did not acknowledge addendum 2 on their bid form. However, when I did my bid tabbing process, I talked to them and made sure that we were all in the same agreement on what was included in their bid. And then Abatech did not use the bid form, which the only difference in the bid form that was sent in addendum 2 was an added unit price. So same bid form, just another unit price on the second one. And for your temporary fence work scope, we had Keller Fence as the lone bidder. They have been doing most of your temporary fence work on these projects. And they did not attend the pre-bid meeting. As we discussed briefly earlier, we did go through the scope of work with them. They had a meeting with our superintendent, and we are all in agreement on what is included there as well. This is a summary of the bids. Everything included within this project, as you see here, budgeted was $2.2 million, and the actual came out to $1.9 million. This is including our general conditions, contingency, fee, site services, everything. So the total that we would be asking for approval tonight for is the $1.9 million. Does anyone have any questions on that?
So Morgan, just so the board knows, if the board says yes on the demo with the Keller fence, would we try to get that fence up as soon as we could, or do we wait until the abatement is done? How does that work?
No, as soon as we get approval or whatever happens, we will let the bidders know, the lowest parent bidders, and they will get on their work as soon as they can. So as soon as the approval may happen, we will call Keller Fence and they will put up the fence as soon as possible just to get the sites here. Can't talk tonight. Site secure. As you can tell, I'm a little rusty.
Definitely want to get the fence up before snow starts as well.
What did he say?
Snow.
Some S word.
The S word. It's coming.
All right, just for some context to the whole situation here, we wanted to do the comparison in bids from last year to this year for this scope of work. And mind you, there was scope added. There was a $150,000 savings between the bids last year and this year. So once again, a really great news story. Are there any questions on anything I went through? All right, so now I'm going to ask for board approval for the Gilbert campus demolition and abatement bid packages and that project.
So with item 5 and Morgan's presentation on the Gilbert abatement and demo bids, can I get a motion to approve this?
I'll make that one.
Motion by Director Lotiger,
I'll second.
support by Director Culver-Dahl. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Tough. Tough for me.
I know,
Tough for
see,
me.
I know how, yeah,
Just take a
it's
breath.
hard.
Item 6, the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Yuhan. By support by Director Reardon. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a correction to make in the minutes, please.
Okay.
Hang on. All right, on item reports, 5.C.
5 point, this is at last meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, what was
October
that?
9th. That's what we're approving October 9th. think there was some misinformation. I wasn't here, but when I reviewed the meeting and then I saw the minutes, Superintendent Schmidt said he discussed the research done in an anatomy table similar to the Automage table. This lesser expensive model is made in Russia. It is not made in Russia. It's made in the United States. And there were some foreseeable issues with communications, software updates, and repair parts. And that's not accurate either. I contacted,
I think that's the timer for that.
well, it is, of course, the minutes.
No, you
Can we get that corrected then? And, because we already approved to purchase.
we
the
can-
table.
I know, but you can correct the minutes.
Yeah, we'll
'cause they're
correct the
not
minutes.
correct.
I mean, we would correct them.
But what I did say was that Willie did research that one was made in Russia,
It
and
was
that's
not.
what I said at the board meeting.
And it was.
We can certainly add that if you would like.
And about the problems, I've been in contact with the company. And in fact, just for your information, there's a third table out there called Spectre or something. But anyhow, the other part that's not accurate, do you want accurate minutes or not? And I think that if we're bad-mouthing a company, it's not right for us to say that there will be problems with repairs and software and everything, when that's not the case. And it is an American US made table, and they're based in, MedVision makes it, and they're based in Florida. And they make these medical, what do they make? Fidelity patient simulators. That's where, like a Rosessa Ann, or if you practice how to put
Okay,
tubes
all right.
down. All right.
So we're talking about the minutes. Go ahead with your next
And
question.
the other part that wasn't accurate, that there would be foreseeable issues with communications, software updates, and repairs and parts. And they said that there would not be problems in those areas because the client, if we were the client or somebody else, I know we already passed this, but I just wanted to straighten the record out. It's MedVision in Tampa. The product is in the U.S. market. So to be more accurate, hang on, one more thing here. The school district was wrong about the service, which will be with MediVision in Tampa, not from Russia. So I just want to set the record straight. There's no reason for us to have believed and said that that company, anybody who would buy their table would have problems with it.
So we can,
And I think we did them a disservice by saying those things.
I guess my opinion is the meeting minutes is what was discussed, and
Yeah.
that's what was discussed. So if there's an error in it, then I think that should be like an added item for discussion and not necessarily coming up
The information was.
for this portion.
That I
Minutes are a summary of what the meeting,
Right.
instead of the meeting, you don't change
Correct.
the narrative there, and just,
Then I would make a motion that we correct the minutes to reflect.
you wanna add a discussion at the next
accurate
meeting about what you found out, and then you can add it to those minutes.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
That's how I think it should go.
information. That's fine, as long as we corrected misinformation. Thanks.
okay. Any more discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Reports, treasurer's report. Can I get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Make the motion.
I second it.
Second by Westby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Up next, principal's report. Angie.
Good evening, school board members. Greetings from the Laurentian students and staff. We've had a really good start of the school year. The second year in a building is much smoother than the first year. The returning students know where to go. The first day of school, they know to go right outside or to eat breakfast. So, and they're used to the playground, they're used to the soft furniture. It's not as overstimulating as it was that first year last year. So it's been a much better start of the school year. The first school board meeting that I spoke at last year, I talked about the enrollment. So I'll start off with enrollment numbers as well. Last year I was at 467 students K through 6, and then another 60 kids for the preschool. So about 527. This year, I'm starting out with 483 K through 2 and about another 70 in pre-K. So the total building, we have about 552 students in there. So we definitely have grown K through 6, another 16 students. So it's going well, and I have to say our class size is still very small. I don't even have one elementary class size of 25, which is good. So the class sizes are very good. So we still have some room to grow. We can still take more kids, but we're at a really good number right now. I also want to give a shout out to our current 5th grade students and all of our staff, teachers, and paraprofessional support for the 5th grades last year's as 4th graders MCA scores. The 4th grade last year MCA scores, which the percentage of students that met or exceeded the math standards in 4th grade was 82%, which is phenomenal. And those are our current 5th grade students. I know I have a math teacher out here, so just you have to stay teaching, Mike, until you get these current 5th graders, because they had 82% passing. So that is phenomenal. So hats off to those current 5th grade students, and then all of the staff and paraprofessionals that help support our students. I also want to talk about something from the MCA, the MDE reports on, but it's really not public a lot. It's the academic progress, because I was really impressed with the academic progress that our students made. The academic progress is measured, by MDE, and it measures whether students' achievement levels. The achievement levels again are does not meets, partially meets, and exceeds. So they look at those 4 achievement levels, and if they've improved or maintained, they score us appropriately. So in our last year's, this again would be 3rd through 6th, we had 72% of our students in math either maintain that achievement level or increase. So that's pretty high in my eyes. The other thing was in reading, we had 78% of our students maintain or improve an achievement level. So that's really high scores, and it's not talked a lot, but that's what's most important for, when we talk with our teachers, it's about that academic progress that's being made. So we get them where we're at, and if we can make progress, that's good. So hats off to all of our staff at Laurentian Elementary and our students for achieving the high level of achievement level scores. I also want to talk about that I've met with all of the staff at Laurentian Elementary one-on-one, and we talked about professional goals and student learning goals. Our shared professional goal in the building is that the teachers that went to the PBL training will implement 2 project-based learning lessons, the one being completed by the first semester and the second one being completed by the end of the school year. Our PLCs have been devoted to that work, where they're collaborating with each other and making sure that they have everything in order to complete those project-based learning activities. And then our student learning goal for the building is to take a look at our class average grade equivalency by looking at our STAR assessment. So we have an assessment that we use, and it will tell us by each teacher where they're at grade equivalent. So like if 2nd grade took the test here in September and they're at a 2.0, they're right on target. That's where they should be, starting 2nd grade. But sometimes you might have some that are at a 1st grade level in 5th month, which is a 1.5 grade equivalent. So we take the average of all the students that take the test in that class, and we want the growth to be by the end of the year a 1.4 in reading. So that's our shared goal that we have in the building, is a 1.4 grade equivalent. We want every student to grow at least a year and 4 months. So last year, our average for K through 6 in reading, we averaged a 1.0. So everybody, class average 1.0. So now we're shooting for a 1.4. And just for comparison's sakes, last year our math school average grade equivalency growth was a 1.6. So in math, we're doing well. We're doing better with math, 1.6. Everybody grew class average. So now we're just going to focus on the reading to get that to be a 1.4. Then I want to talk a little bit about our field trips. Who thought that field trips happen in the fall? But they do. We've had a lot of them already take place. A lot of times when we talk about field trips, we think that it's always in the spring. But our 5th grade students went to that week of Starbase in Duluth, which I know that you're familiar with. They went the last few years. So they went to that. Then the 5th graders also went to the Hawk Ridge Bird Observatory in Duluth. So they've been out of the building for 6 days already in the first month and a half of school. Our 6th graders participated in the STEM showcase in Hibbing for the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So they were able to participate in that and have a lot of fun. And then our 6th graders, with the help of the support of the Gilbert and Evelyn Gilbert Libraries, were able to have a guest speaker, and it was a graphic novelist, Lynn Von Seen. She's a visual storyteller. She actually came and worked with our 6th graders for an hour on having our students create their own graphic novels. I don't know if you've heard of Lynn Von Seen, but she, this year she published The Nib, and then the one last year was The Echo. So again, it's a visual storyteller, it's a graphic novel. So that was kind of nice to have a professional work with our students on creating their own graphic novels. And we thank the Evelyn and Gilbert Libraries for that, because they funded that. On October 13th, our kindergarten students went on a field trip to Simics Farm for their pumpkin patch activities. And fire safety we had on October 12th and 13th. And so I want to thank our local fire departments for coming with their equipment and showing our students the equipment that they use, the fire trucks, and also just teaching them fire safety. And after we had that training, we had a fire drill the following week. And this may seem odd, but this is the first time ever that I've been an administrator for 19 years. It's the first time we ever had the fire trucks come so that the students could see and the staff could see where the trucks are going to be parked. And I don't know why I haven't done that in the past, but it worked nicely. They parked at the 1404 building. We had the alarm, and then they didn't come on with their sirens, but they came in with their lights on, and then the students and staff, as we were exiting, we were making sure we weren't going to be in their way and gathered by the Laurentian baseball field. So it was nice to see that where the trucks would be, and so the kids would know that as well as the staff. And again, that's the first time I've ever had that happen. So that was good. The 2 things left, I attended the last week in September, the Wednesday Curriculum Advisory Committee, and I just have to say I was really impressed by the amount of people we had at that meeting. We had between 15 and 20 people. We had a couple past school board members, former school board members, we had a couple retired teachers, we had some current teachers there. We had community members, and I believe we had every building in the district represented by a parent. So that was, I've been on these curriculum advisory board meetings, and it's hard to get them, people there, but we had a huge turnout for the first one. So that was exciting to see. And Alicia Schrader did a nice job presenting the information of where our district's heading and a review of everything that we've been doing for that first meeting. And the last thing I just want to say is this is more for the parents at Laurentian Elementary, but we have our conferences November 14th and 16th, 3:30 to 6:30, and our staff will be sending home a Google schedule for them to schedule conferences that first week in November. So they should be receiving a bright arrow with that information to sign up for conferences. Any questions for me?
Thank you.
Great report.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot. I didn't
Yeah.
know that much could happen in a month and a half.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Great news.
Point 3, the superintendent report.
Members of the board, couple things just to fill you in on. One is, Director Sorkin, you asked about the due bid. We can talk about that right now. We also have Mike Hogan in the back who can give you an update on the due bid, but the Gilbert sale is over. Folks have been up there picking up all of their stuff. I've been there a couple of times. It was calm, organized, with people picking up their stuff, but there's a lot of activity going on. I believe the numbers were around 15,000 for day one, 15,000, or they're not day one, but there were two different ways you could get it. And 15,000, it was about 30,000 gross total. Now, you won't net that because we have to take some expenses out of that, but it was not as much as what we've made in some other sales, and that's because Gilbert has already had sales over there. So this was the leftovers of the leftovers to a certain extent. There's some other newer stuff that was put in kitchen equipment, etc. So it's over with. There are some items that did not get purchased, not surprisingly. And so we are removing those. That's why you see the big bit. If you go around the building now, you'll see it. There's big dumpsters outside the building. And we have to remove all the excess stuff that's in the building because depending how you vote later on the demo, it can't be there. Otherwise, it takes a volume and they're going to charge you more money for it. So when they give you the demo bid, they're assuming all the furniture is out of there. You don't have a lot of stuff in the hallways, etc. So from my perspective, it was calm, it was organized, it went well, and you had a lot of people who were happy to get some things that they can use in their garage or in their houses. So that's what I know about the due bid auction and the Gilbert sale.
Is there a lot left, or like what's left?
We have some desks that we would love you to take for Christmas presents. There are some older desks, because you hear things people say, like, especially desks, they're broken legs, some of them don't work, some of them work, but they're older. And so there's maybe a little bit of that left, but other than that, it's mostly, most people would call it, and I'm gonna get in trouble for this, most people would call it what's left is trash.
Okay.
And junk. They wouldn't put it in their house.
Real usable, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've sold most of the
The
usable
usable
stuff.
stuff, okay. Yeah.
And they still have some lights that they have to pull down. Virtually all the artwork from that building is in this building. It's some in that room, some back there, because it's secure in here. There were a couple pieces that were sold because they're big, heavy, and people bid on those, but most of the artwork is still in the building, and we're holding on to it. We probably will wait and have a separate sale for that, because that will tend to attract a different kind of person. And we're also waiting to see if any local historical society or other group, nonprofit, is interested in any of the pieces that we have. Any questions?
No.
So to your knowledge, the items that did not sell on due bid, and nobody bid on them, what happened to that, those items?
If the items were unsellable, we're throwing them away. If the items are things we believe that we can sell, like there's some lights that were up there, we're having them removed, and we will try to sell those when we'll have to have a sale.
I believe.
And so we'll try and sell those.
I believe, according to due bid, that some of the items did not sell. People could walk up to the due bid auction and offer something for that item did not sell.
We did have some of that happened, yes.
That's what I was told.
But on top of that, I was told, and I did go over and visit on Sunday, because I heard that people were just coming in and just taking things that weren't sold for due bid. And it was like a free-for-all. The doors were open, the doors were propped open, and people were just coming and taking whatever was left over. I don't think that was right. And then
No, wait a second.
No,
You said you heard this from somebody?
and then I went over and I talked to people. I went over on Sunday and I talked to about
Okay.
4 people. Well, your brother was one. We had a nice conversation.
Okay.
He's a good preservationist.
I mean, we gotta be careful what we say that,
I was there.
so you're telling people, I mean, people told you they were just taking stuff because,
Yes.
did you get their names?
I can from your brother. And then I was told
I heard
that
somebody
people,
got stuff.
well, no, I was told it was that
Right.
other things that were on the due bid, and these people said that they knew for a fact, they knew it was true for a fact, that like, say, the finials on the end of the railings and the banisters, some people bid on those, they won the bid, and when they came there to get them, they were gone. So
That's
somebody
true.
took them.
somebody reached out, well, I saw somebody had said something about that, and that's, I know of one person that happened to, but as far as I know, they were reimbursed for.
It was resolved. It was
Yeah.
resolved because their number was this banister, and then that, and then those people took the wrong banister.
Okay.
And then, so they got what they bid.
Well,
Somebody just inadvertently took the wrong,
Correct.
and they're all over the building.
well, that's not what I was told. And the other part of it is, who gave the authority for this to be, people just to come and go and take whatever was left? What was our liability about that? Did Dubid, I was told by one fellow that Dubid said he could do this and that. And the other one said, well, somebody from the school said we could come in and they propped the door open and we could come in and take whatever we saw. I just don't think, well,
Mike, you
Mike-
want to shed some light on all
I
this
can
stuff?
shed some light.
'Cause- yeah, sure, yeah.
I think that was a big liability for one thing.
Okay, first of all, Dubid, we had a set where they were gonna come Thursday and Friday, where the people could get their stuff. But under the time crunch we're in, everything's happening within a week. It went on Saturday, there were still people grabbing stuff and getting stuff and picking up their stuff. To my knowledge, and I talked to Dubid and people that were there, because we also had employees there that were working, getting the stuff that, if you call it, the stuff that was getting tossed, thrown away. I did see people grabbing stuff from outside that were taking it, and I don't know who they were or what they're doing, but once it was outside by the dumpsters, that part, if they're taking it right now, I'm okay with that. But the thing on Saturday, there was probably I saw about 6 or 7 different groups of people that were getting stuff out of there, that were getting remains that they bought. And Dubid was one of them, because they couldn't get their stuff on Friday because they were coming in after the fact to get what they bought individually as individuals. I know that like even our plumber Joel, he bought the bleachers, he was getting stuff in after the sale. So it's just, the way I looked at it was, these people are just finishing up their stuff. Now there's, still a little bit of, I'm getting calls still, where can I get this, can I get that, and I'm saying no. So, I guess that was my breakdown of how it went. I thought it went really well for how everything was put into that little bit of time. But, if something happened that I didn't see, that could have happened, but to my knowledge, I thought it went pretty smooth.
Good.
So are you saying that, to your knowledge, you don't know that people who did not bid and win and do bid, they did not go inside, not just outside, and just take what they wanted to take?
Everybody, to my knowledge, Paulia, that was in the building getting stuff, either purchased that stuff or were approved to be in there.
And who would have approved that? Who would have approved them to be in there? Like, for example, there was the floor in the gym being taken apart, and I didn't believe that was on the do-bid auction. But on Sunday, there was a fellow, he's a preservationist just like your brother, and he wants to save this stuff, and I'm all for that. But we evidently let people in there, and he was pulling up the floor on Sunday. And who authorized that? Who said he could go and do that? I'm glad somebody's reconstituting or whatever. I'm just saying, I'm not real happy about how and it sounded like a free-for-all.
Talking about the Gilbert, the center logo?
That's what I think.
The center logo and some of the.
I did.
You didn't?
Yeah, I did. If the guy wants it, nobody has bid on it, and he wants it, and it's gonna get demolished, and he's gonna pay for it. Why would we not let someone come in and remove it?
That was my question then. Who authorized that? So now
You're looking right at him.
Okay.
That's my job.
You know what we should do, there's a lot of hearsay here, why don't we just,
It's not
Mike
hearsay.
and Noel, find out.
Well, it's not hearsay. He said he authorized it. My question was, who authorized people to come in and take stuff that was not on the do-bid auction
Oh, it's for
after
the floor.
Thursday and
I
Friday?
said the floor, not stuff,
is
not
the
other
one.
stuff.
Yeah,
The stuff you're saying, that people were just free falls, is a hearsay thing.
that, it's not. I was-
Or he authorized
I was
the
there on
floor.
Sunday. I was there on Sunday, and I talked to people.
My understanding was
Right.
Dubed would
Oh, yeah,
reimburse
and
us
I knew
for
about.
just to
I
get
didn't, I was gonna ask you, but, and that's, like I said, back to the thing is, everyone that went through there, even though it was still on Saturday, it was stuff they purchased, and they were just cleaning it up.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
That's your statement, is that there were only people who purchased things that were in there Saturday and Sunday after.
To my knowledge, yes.
Well,
Thank you, Mike.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Say, members of the board, I want to be very clear on this. The sheer volume of things that you have sold in multiple auctions, in multiple garage sales, have actually gone really, really well. These are not money makers for the district at all. We're lucky if we're breaking even with everything. This last one was very similar to the other one. Could somebody have stolen something? Absolutely. Somebody went in and stole a light from Gilbert when nobody was looking. I don't even know how they did that. Could that have happened? There's actually, yes, they could have done it. However, in the big scheme of all the items, there's actually been very little of that that's happened. I mean, I don't even want to tell you this, but in my admin meetings, I've told the admin group, I said, if you hear about employees who are taking school stuff, taking it home when it should be on the auction, if it comes to my attention, we're turning it over to the police. This is not their personal stuff. They cannot take stuff. Nobody can take stuff. This is taxpayer stuff. We're going to go through the process. It's been handled very well. You've had huge numbers of people in the building, but in the big scheme of everything, I think it's gone actually very, very well.
And this was the first time I've ever heard anything like that happen. So handful of people maybe. So, yeah.
Other things for my report. Highway 53. Just to give the board an update, in November, some folks from the MnDOT or St. Louis County are going to come here. They're going to give the board an update on everything that's happening on Highway 53. There's a lot of stuff going on with trails and roads and roundabouts, and they have most of the money for it. And so they're going to come in, I believe, the second board meeting to give you a personal update.
I thought it was first one in December.
Is it the first one?
That's what
It's
I was
coming
told.
up pretty quick. So they're going to give you an update on what's going on there. And then also just know, teaser, spoiler alert, upcoming, we're going to have some individuals give you updates on the strategic plan. This happened about a year ago where you had a number of different people told you where they were on the strategic plan. So they're going to come again, not everyone. We're going to break it down into smaller, and you'll get some updates on what's happened on the strategic plan, just so you know what's happening on that one. And any questions from the board?
I have none. Okay, moving on to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, policy 520, the first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support. Motion by Director Lotiger, support by Yuhan. Any discussion?
I have a discussion. There's a lot to discuss here. I'd like to know what the board members understand about this policy. And what do you think it really says? Because I think there's a misunderstanding of what it says and what the intent is and what the changes that were made are.
Here you want, I'll pass around the copy of it.
You know, I have one here, but it's the one in the packet didn't have it. Thank you.
And on the third page of this policy, as presented by MSBA, the second line talks about Minnesota statute 121A.065. And that specifically says that parents get a notice and the opportunity to opt out. And I printed out the 121A.065 and highlighted that. So I think it's a moot point. We have to follow the state statutes on this.
I have a question. What are the mechanics of the parents getting the opportunity to review the survey then?
I mean, do they get it like we were discussing at the beginning of the year? How does that work out?
If it's the Minnesota Student Survey you're talking about, we always notify the parent and say, if you want to look at a copy of the survey, you just need to come to the school. You can take a look at the copy. They just can't walk out the door with it. That's the rules, how it's set up. We have very few parents who do that, but we do have a couple every year. And so our principals, and we let them know that parents have that option.
So the intent of this policy change was because on page 2, when there's a survey that has a relationship to federal funding, federal government relationship, there are 8 categories of information that parents have to actively opt into. And that's exactly what the changes in our committee and what we talked about is to take that same federal language. It's been on the books since the 70s, and it's been revised a little bit. I think they added another category, and saying that these areas are nosy questions. They are very sensitive, private things that are being asked of students. Like number 1 is self-explanatory: political affiliations or beliefs of students or the students' parents. Okay, 2, you get into mental and psychological problems of the student or the student's family. Why would any parent not want to know and have to give active consent when there are surveys that ask that kind of question, such as, have you ever been treated for an alcohol or drug problem? That's one example. Do you live with anyone who has mental health issues, or do you have any long-term mental health issues? That type of information and question is nobody's business.
But isn't B spell that out?
No.
Yes, it does.
It says no student shall be required. So don't answer the question.
Yeah.
That's
Read that whole thing.
I know.
Read B so the public knows. Before you start telling them that these are the questions we're going to ask.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if we ask these kinds of questions on a state
Can't
survey,
without consent from the parents. It says right here.
that this is only applies to federal funded or federally tied surveys. What I wanted to do and what we discussed at the committee meeting was to take the same criteria and apply it to state surveys and local surveys. If any questions are asked about these categories, sex behavior or attitudes. Now, why would we want parents to not actually actively opt in to a question like, how do you describe your sexual orientation or your gender identity? And do parents even know, when these types of questions are asked in a survey?
But Polly, you're taking all the negativeness and all the negative questions that come through, and it's a state statute. The parents have the option to opt out.
And that's what we want to change. We want to opt in.
Well, you can't, then you have to change the state statute.
It's not the state statute, Tim. We could go above and beyond, and we can change it to mirror the federal statute, okay? And so these are questions that are asked. These are categories. I'm not just taking the negative, because these are the categories of information that some surveys ask. And illegal, antisocial, self-incriminating, or demeaning behavior.
Yeah, that's the list that's right.
How many times, this is just the list, it's from the law. How many times have you slapped, hit, kicked, threatened, lied, make sexual jokes about somebody else? That's nobody's business. We shouldn't be asking those questions. Have you ever traded sex or sexual activity for money, food, drugs, alcohol, or a place to stay? That's the category. This is an example of a question, okay? Critical appraisals of other individuals whom respondents have a close family relationship.
Again, it says no student shall be required as part of any program.
I do have
By the U.S. Department of Education without the prior consent of the student, if the student is an adult or an emancipated minor, or in the case of an unemancipated minor, without the prior written consent of the parent to submit a survey that reveals information concerning.
Without the prior
So
written consent.
they have the option, they get an opportunity to opt out from the survey.
But this is opt-in.
And some people.
Okay, can I just say, we're just adding another layer of protection. Okay.
But again, people have the opportunity to opt out of it.
We want to change it to opt in.
The people that came in spoke and said less than 5% opt out of taking those. And again, parents have that opportunity to have conversations at home as well about what they feel is appropriate and not appropriate for their child to answer questions regarding. So if they don't want their child to answer questions regarding that, they're not required to answer those
We're
questions.
just asking for the opposite, to have active consent to opt in. So are you saying
For
that
the 5%.
Are you saying that the other 95% then, you can be sure that they want their children
They're not
to take
opting out.
Well, hopefully they're involved in their child's education.
One at a time, please.
I'd like to say something, please. I just think we're looking for a layer of added transparency, I guess. I'm gonna say I was one of those parents that you trust everything what the school does, so you just sign and you don't even think about it. I didn't even know what this was until someone on Facebook alerted it to me. Now, I didn't opt out, I didn't, but I feel like parents should have a right. I just want transparency for parents. If they're fine with it, then fine, that's great. But I don't think a lot of parents know what's going on, and I'm trying to give us a little bit more, like I said, again, the word is transparency, that's all.
So the guidance I would say to Noel is to make sure that this information is openly available to families, that they have that option to opt out.
So why not opt in? I just wonder what do you have against opting in?
Well,
Because
paperwork wise,
Right, and who's gonna police that?
Yeah.
So who's gonna go through every class and say, oh, Johnny, Susie,
Well,
you
know
can't
that
take
this
that
is
test.
coming every year, so.
Every 3 years.
You know
Or
that
every-
the Minnesota Department of Education puts out the Minnesota Student Survey. So everybody that's watching that is concerned about it, they have that option to opt out. Call the school district tomorrow.
Saying that we think it should be opt-in, so parents give active consent to do this,
And
not
puts
just
them in the
by
driver's
default.
seat.
They're gonna have it by default. Number 5, critical appraisals of others with whom the respondents have close family relationships. This should be off limits. A question such as under that category, do you live with anyone who drinks too much alcohol or uses illegal drugs or abuses prescription drugs? Have any of your parents or guardians ever been in jail or prison, and did you live with them at the time they went into prison? Those are the types of the things we want to say parents need to actually opt in actively and not passively to ask these kind of questions. If they want to, fine. But believe these are such sensitive and nosy and whatchamacallit questions, legally recognized privileges of relationships, such as lawyers, physicians, and ministers. Well,
Do you not think that any of those things impact a child's education?
they certainly do, but they're
Okay.
nobody's business.
So,
And what do we do with this information?
well, I'll tell you, the one you mentioned about jail, there's different funding for certain supports and services to kids that have a parent that's in jail or prison.
Well, that's fine. That's fine, but if the federal government says you don't have a right to ask these questions unless the parents actively say opt in. I'm just saying, it's good enough for the federal government, why not good enough for the state and local? And I think there was kind of a mountain out of a molehill. I think a couple of the Craigs came and responded about this. And they're talking about these surveys and this and that. What would you like to have for homecoming and stuff? No. We were specific about these questions, these 8 categories of questions, not all of that stuff. So that was not to the point and to the issue either. It was like, embellishing that it's such a bad thing. Sticking to these categories, that's all that this change would have been, opting in for these categories.
The policy covers student surveys in general. It says student surveys in general. So if people wanted to take a survey about the subject of the king and queen, if they wanted to take a survey of students over that, do they need to contact parents?
No, I said
get
that
an
was
okay
not the
for
intent.
survey?
If we have to change.
Well, that might not have been the intent, but that's what's covered in the policy.
If we have to change that wording, where's that wording in general? That's just a
Here,
general
right.
statement.
Bold, number 3, student surveys in general.
Okay, that's generalities, okay? That's in general. Now the next page gets into specifics about these sensitive questions.
I think we know each other's objections to it, I think we should vote on this policy for the first reading.
And I have another comment or a question. You know, we have opt-in for many things. We have opt-in before last year when we have universal breakfast and lunch. Parents had to opt in to get free and reduced lunch. When you go on I think if you go on a field trip, you have to opt in and you have to give your express parental consent. That's all we're asking for this very, very personal information. That's all this is about, nothing else. And this whole policy is about the federal law. All I think the rest of the committee and I wanted to do is to make it apply to state, and that would be the student survey. Maybe there's other ones too that ask this personal information, and it's not appropriate to ask, or any local. I don't know any local ones that we give that would ask that question. Not the examples that you gave, or any classroom, or any student-led things. If we have to change some language, I'd be happy to do that, but that was the intent for these on page.
Hey, I gotta say this, Director Sorkin, please stop specifically saying negative things about staff members. You have to stop doing that.
I'm responding to what was said during visitor.
They gave an opinion, please don't do that.
And I'm giving my opinion of their opinion because I think it didn't apply to what this policy
Chair.
was.
Call for the question.
And you know, Tim, that's the third time you want to.
Well, Polly,
You want to cut off debate, and you're really abusing that. But here's the third time.
I think we've had plenty of debate about it.
Yep.
needs a second.
Support.
So call for the question is for Tim Reardon, support by Dr. Yuhan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
So it's 4-3.
And by the way, calling the question takes a 2/3 vote, and it's you'd have to have 5 members to call the question and to end debate. So that did not pass. Calling the question and ending debate just did not pass. You did it before, and it was wrong. And I want you to know right now that we can still have debate on here, because that motion just failed. And so, again, Brandy, if you want some changes.
Is that the truth, Tim?
I'm not gonna
Who would
say.
you,
Yeah, I don't.
here, I'll bring it. We all got
No, for the sake of time.
We all got these cards from MSBA. We get them every year. It says right on there. I mean, parliamentary procedure, I think we should know, when you can do something and make amendments and how you can make amendments. But anyway, let's vote on this, and we'll still have a second reading.
Okay.
And I wish you,
The motion by Lotiger, support by Director Yuhan, to approve the first reading of 520. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
no.
Motion passes 4-3. Okay. Policies, third and final reading of 504 and 515. Can I get a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Support by Director Reardon, support by Director Yuhan. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 10, consider approval quote for new chair risers.
Choir.
Choir. I didn't.
I make a motion to approve the preferred bid.
Motion by Director Yuhan, support by
Brandy.
Ms.
Support.
Director Lotiger. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
And just to note, that will be coming out of the extra referendum money. FF&E.
Okay, so meeting announcement, our next regular board meeting will be November 9th here. Nope.
Is that the right date? I know,
No,
that's wrong, isn't it?
it's the wrong date.
It's the second.
It is the what, 13th? It's the 13th at 4:30 at the North Star. That's where you'll have our work study session. I'd also like to say that Care Partners is having their 14th annual Swedish Meatball Dinner Wednesday, October 25th, 2023 at the New Rockridge High School from 4 to 7. It's $15 a person, children under 5 are free. All proceeds assist the Iron Rangers facing cancer and life-limiting illnesses. If you have any questions, you can call 218-404-1411 and talk to a meeting sponsor. So that's this Wednesday. And there is takeout and all that stuff at this Wednesday. Yes.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Okay. Motion by Director Lawler, support by Director Young to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.